So for some rhythm ideas to play over minor blues, specifically here with M&M blues, we're going to continue with the chord diamonds that we saw in Super Dom blues, courtesy of Gerry Carboy's genius. So let's start out here in the 8th position, and let's outline our diamond. So first chord we have here, the primary chord on the bottom strings, is a drop 3. It's an abbreviated drop 3, C minor 7, just like we saw when we started out with the chords in Super Dom, where we had the abbreviated G7. So now we have the abbreviated drop 3, C minor 7. So the next chord in the diamond will be E flat major 7. Now again, C minor, that's flat 3, flat 7, 9, and the 5. Next one, built off the 5th, is C minor 7. And again, C minor, we have a 5, a 9, an 11, and the flat 7. And then to complete the diamond, off of the flat 7, bass note that is, there's a Dorian sound here, chordal harmony that really delivers the Dorian sound. And again, C minor, that's flat 7, flat 3, the 6 or 13, and then the 9. And remember, the tritone, wherever that tritone is, really defines the sound. So not only do I have the 6 in here, but I also have the 6 against a flat 3 in a tritone interval setup. To extend the top range of the diamond like we've been doing, I'm just going to go up to another chordally based chord, all fourths. If you want to look at it against C minor, you have a 1, an 11, a flat 7, and a flat 3. But more importantly, it's the construction of the chordal harmony, which on the top strings works out really good. And it's really comfortable too, because you have all these moves. But the primary diamond with the extra slider chord is just this. Now, if you want to take that to the next level and deliver even more Dorian sounds, let's take apart the diamond and or let's reconstruct it. So C minor 7 turns into C minor 6. E flat major 7 now turns into E flat major 7 with a flat 5 or sharp 11. And I also have a 9 on top. So it's really E flat major 9 with a sharp 11. That is really driving home a C minor 13 sound, just like it was here. My G minor 7 turns into a G minor 9. Got to be careful with this one, because that G minor 9 sound is very strong. But it still could work if... Listen to that. Okay, and then the final chord here, instead of coming off the flat 7, I can come off the 6, and I can extend that C minor 6 I had here, you know, with a minor 7 flat 5. So altogether it's this. Next chord, next chord, next chord. And then the slider, the extender for this could be the completion of our former diamond. Let's come down here and just take a look real fast at the diamond, and we can build here off the 5th, the other note that's real good to start off of. So we'll have a 5, flat 7, 9, and a 4 or an 11 to build a diamond off of. Remember, these are the extended ones, so these are a little bit more outside. Even though we're still inside in diatonic, they're a little outside sounding. So you want to save these as you comp through the changes. It's not something you want to come out of the gates with. So C minor, C minor 7, and it's another drop 3 voicing, but it's abbreviated. Then we're going to flip over here to B flat major 7. Now you have the 9 and the 13 here against C, but you also have the 11. So since there's no flat 3 or 1 in here, this one, like I said, this is something you don't want to start right on the downbeat with. Then we're going to move up here to a D minor 7. Against C, you have a 9, 13, a 1, and an 11. Again, no flat 3. So you'll see how I put those together in a second, where we can make them work. But if you come and just sit on those chords, it'll sound like you're playing the wrong chord. So, and then the last chord here we have is this. Very cool Dorian sounding chord. Tritone on the top between the flat 3 and 13. And then we have the 4 and the flat 7 here. It's another chordally based chord. It's just the fact that the tritone's right on the top gives it a really cool, funky sound. And then the slider, or the connector for this, is just a chordally based, straight up chordal harmony chord. So just like in Super Dom, the good thing to do is take one of the areas, such as this one, and then move up the area off the fifth and put it in the same area as your primary harmony. So your 8th position chord diamonds, these guys. What I'm going to do is shift up what I just showed you here down in the 1st position and put that to the 4 chord, so it makes for nice tight voice leading. So everything you just did here, there's the 4, back to the 1. And also what you'll see is how some of the chords are common. Where that was my 2nd chord when I went in F minor. My 3rd chord was common to both. My top chords, the only difference is this here for C minor, and then that's a great way to start making your chord changes sound tighter, with the voice leading being nice and close. Let's check out the flat 6 major 7. So we'll build our diamond down here from the root. Let's look at the diamond first. 1, 3, 5, and 7. So we'll build here from the root. From the 3rd, we'll have a minor 7 chord. That's a straight up diatonic substitution. For the 5, instead of playing a major 7, I'm actually going to play a major 9. Flat 6 major 7s in minor blues sound great when you add the 13. Major 7 sounds great, but it's a nice additive to the sound when you have the 13 present, especially in the same chord. See, what's happening here is this E flat major 9 is accompanied by the major 7, so they're both in there. So it's a nice, pretty dense sound. Okay, so we have root, 3rd, built off the 5th. Now let's build off the 7th, as we always do, chordal harmony on the top. Nice, easy. It's connector, or it's slider, right there. Chordal harmony again, but this one's got the D in there, so against A flat, that's the sharp 11. And that's definitely the hip sound over flat 6 major 7 in minor blues. So much so that maybe on your primary chord here, even though I like to keep those abbreviated because I don't want so much harmonic weight, so to speak, being played, but how do you resist that? That sounds great, especially when you connect it to the 5. Speaking about the 5, let's go define that right here. So from the root, just like in Super Dom, we're going to start with the abbreviated drop 3 G7. But this time, instead of going to an inside 9, what I'm going to do is raise the note inside that 9th chord to a sharp 9. On its own, this chord is called B diminished major 7. A very cool series of chords, something that comes out of the diminished scale. But what it's acting as here is a G9, G7 sharp 9 with no root. So that's the beginning of our diamond. Root, 3rd, off the 5th, using a straight up G7 flat 9 diminished substitution. And what those are is taking a G7 chord, here's the G7, 2nd inversion G7 that is, because I have the D on the bottom, and raising the root a half step. Very important sound for minor blues on the 5 chord is to use these 7th chords with the root raised up to make diminished chords. And the diminished chords that you make are rooted from the note that you raised. So wherever the root is of the 5 chord that you're altering, that becomes the root of the diminished chord that you're playing. And as we've seen, we're going to see a lot more of diminished to symmetrical. So whatever I have here can be moved every 3 frets. So we have our root built off the 3rd, built off the 5th, and to build off the flat 7, I have 2 options here. Just to throw a change in here, instead of playing another diminished chord, which I easily could do, what you can do here is play a very cool sharp 5, G7 sharp 5 or G7 flat 13. Or raise that root and put that in combination with the flat 13 to make a flat 9, flat 13. So here's your diamond. Or the diminished chord. The difference between the three chords I just played is just one note. This one is F, B, E flat, G, raise the G to A flat, or drop the E flat to D with the A flat still on top. Now the connectors here, the possibilities are very cool, because I can take that flat 9, flat 13 and make it a sharp 9, flat 13. That diminished chord is sitting here. This is a great area for this. Not a lot of areas give you this many options. So here's the diamond in its total form. Or, and here we go. So you put it all together. It's hard to contain yourself. You don't want to step all over the soloist, but it's pretty hard not to play all that stuff. It's fun. So, but try your best to restrain whatever it is you're doing so the soloist can actually, be the guy that's out in front. That's the idea. Let's take a quick look at the A flat diamond up here. What I'm going to do is start off the 5th with an E flat major 7. And then instead of going to the 3rd, that's the way we've been building diamonds, I'm going to go to the 4th here from E flat and play a root position A flat major 9. If I build something off of G here, it kind of loses the effect. So E flat major 7, A flat major 9, C minor 9. And remember, this is all against A flat. So all the notes in here, like this is a sharp 11 sound. This is obviously a true major 9 sound. This is a sharp 11 sound. These are all against A flat. And our final chord, chordal harmony. And the connector. That's the same chord that we saw before. When I was doing C minor, it gave us a Dorian sound. This time it's giving us a Lydian sound because it's against A flat. So we have that. So we have 5, 1. There's the sharp 11, and there's the major 7. So there's our series of A flats. Our diamond up here for G7 is second inversion, abbreviated drop 3, G7. G7 flat 9 in its diminished form. We can move that up to another G7 flat 9 from its A flat diminished 7 form. But right in the middle of that, we cannot deny this. That right there, G7 sharp 9. Gotta have that in there. So we're adding to the diamond. Instead of having 4 chords, we're gonna have 5. And listen to that melody that's going on at the top. It's the same series of notes that we have here. According to 5, you have the 1, the flat 9, the sharp 9, and the 3. That's starting to hint towards symmetrical diminished scales, which we're going to deeply check out when we get to blues for semi. Okay, so to complete our diamond up here on the top, we're just going to go back to G7 flat 9 in its diminished form from the 3rd. And the cool connector here, instead of going to a completely different area, I could just stretch this top note here and go to the sharp 5 or flat 13. So when you're putting this together, so cool to be able to, to hear the melodies, connect these chords for you. So let's turn on the track, and I'll play some of this stuff, and also talk about some of the chord embellishments that you could do to stretch out some of the areas. Just because all these chords exist doesn't mean you have to play them all. Remember the warning that we got in the last rhythm segment. We're overplaying here in order to establish and practice and develop these very cool chordal movements. But remember, play about 25% of what we're doing here, and you're going to sound great. It's just those little snippets that you're playing are going to be so memorable and so great and so inspiring to your soloist. You'll really be doing your job very well. Okay, so let's flip on the track here, and we'll walk through some of the stuff. So on the 1 chord, we'll come in nice and light. But to fill that up, you know, some Hendrix grace note hammer-ons. Little Dorian sound. And what I did there is I played that E flat major 9 sharp 11 and connected it to the F minor 9. Now we're back here to C minor, and what I'm going to do, use the diatonic substitutions to make a movement. So let's get to A flat. Alright, next pass on that turnaround, we'll talk more about that. Let's get back to C minor. Let's get more Dorian. Now notice all that tension I played with the tritone. At the end, it's a good idea to resolve it with an inside sound. Now, here we are back at F minor. Let's do the same thing with Dorian. See? Resolved it. Now we're back here. More Dorian. Now, let's connect this. Back down to G7, flat 9. That's that. See how cool it is when you play with that top, play with that area with the altered 5s, you know, how much tension you can make and release it here at the 1. Let's get a little clustery here. We'll explain those in a second, but we'll keep dousing you with some clusters. Okay, so a new ingredient that I threw in there was clusters. And if you know, simple definition for clusters is a chord that has tight intervals in it, intervals of a second. A true cluster is when there's 2 seconds in there, but those are kind of tough to play on the guitar. Here's an example. We'll take a C. Now, the second from that, if you're thinking in C minor, would be a D. And then the next second from that would be an E flat. So you can play faux cluster, so to speak, or, you know, like a half cluster where the second is present and then the next note might be a third, or the first note, the first interval might be a third, and then a second from there, like this. So here's C, E flat, and F. In minor blues, these sound great. In PDF charts, I'll outline a whole series of clusters for you to check out to throw in between all of these inside and diatonic substitutions and Dorian substitutions, and you put it all together, and it really starts to sound great. But just remember, be very sparse about what you drop in there, especially in an open scenario here like the minor blues. Just listen to the soloist, react to what he's doing, and you know, and try to throw him something inspiring here and there.